Hello, I'm Maura Carley, founder and president of Healthcare Navigation, and I'm here to talk to you today about adding a baby or an adopted child to your coverage. And we've talked about a good deal of somber and solemn things, but the birth of a child or adding an adopted child to your coverage is associated with a happy event, but let's do it correctly. There's always a process. So we've talked about windows, the time frame within which one must act. And the birth or addition of a child is one of those qualifying life's events that allows you to process an enrollment outside the annual cycle, but there's still rules and there's still a window. So our advice is to find out far in advance what the process is so that you know what you have to do. Some employers will cover a baby for a short period of time after the birth, but you always have to do something. Often within 30 days, sometimes within 60 days. But a person is added, a new person is added to a plan with a birth certificate and a social security number. In the case of a newborn, the hospital typically initiates the process for a social security number, and then a parent has to request through whatever the local Office of Vital Statistics is where the baby was born, a birth certificate. And during this pandemic era, there's been a lot of patience displayed because sometimes it's taken longer to get those documents. But again, you know well in advance before a birth or adopting a child, so you should find out what the process is. And that is going to vary depending on how you have your coverage. If you have it through an employer with an HR department or benefits department, you just ask them what the process is. In a smaller business, there's usually an administrative contact who can inform you because that person is the liaison with the insurance company. If you have any questions, you should just contact the insurance company directly. If you have your coverage through a professional employment organization, your administrative contact may say, contact them directly. If you have a marketplace plan, you do need to contact either healthcare.gov or your state-based exchange because remember, most people who buy their coverage through a marketplace or exchange are entitled to some kind of premium tax credit, and that's going to change with the addition of, especially a first child. If you bought your coverage directly through a broker, they may help you as well, or they may direct you to the insurance company. But know what the process is in advance in case your baby's early or the adoption moves along faster than you expected. Clearly, the aim here is to always get that person added to your plan so that claims are covered and a new ID number is generated and there's no disputes over anything. It's always better to be on top of it and be proactive than to assume things will be handled properly and then have to deal with any kind of dispute or headache. Parents have to decide which plan a child is being added to if they're not on coverage together. And so that deserves some thought. It's fairly uncommon today for parents to choose to have a baby covered on each other's plans if they're not together, and on coverage through their respective organizations. But there are circumstances where you might want a baby to have, or an adopted child, as much coverage as possible. should you choose that, remember that the birthday rule applies, so that the parent who has the birthday that comes first in the calendar year, that coverage will be primary and pay first. And the parent who has the birthday after the other parent later in the year, that coverage will be secondary. With that said, I think we can end this. And if you're pregnant or planning to adopt a child, you need to add this one other to-do to your list. Thank you very much for listening, and take good care. Bye-bye.